Right, here we go, another day in paradise. So first off, little 50cc racing Ducati Delorto carburetor. Bought this as auction about 6 months ago. So completely renovated, typical Italian design, wonderful sports, beautiful little tank, twin caps, which is amazing. It's probably more for cosmetic than principle. So we'll give that a run later. We've got the car park ready, so I'll give that a crash around later for you. So let's come into paradise. Come in. We've got quite a bit of stuff in here that's going on. Couple of Hondas, the world famous GOV 132, standard HT5. This is a standard HT5. We're doing it up for a William Hood up at Newcastle upon Tyne. His brother John unfortunately passed away. He owned this bike, and really one of his last wishes was that could you get Sammy Miller Museum to rebuild his bike. So it's really couldn't refuse it. So we took on this job. Very standard, genuine engine, frame number, gearbox number, but what a monster. And this is what Miller, when he came to Ariel Motorcycles, what he had to start with. So very, very heavy, cumbersome thing. The weight of it was horrendous. The weight of that front brake is just like obscene, to tell you the truth. If we stick it on there, the hub alone, 14 pounds weight, so that's about 6 kilograms, just crazy. That's the weight of some modern engines. So anyway, we threw that away. We put the little aluminium Ariel leader hubs into the Ariel, into GOV. Then here we go here, steady, heavy old frame. Miller made 1 on 531 tubing, super lightweight, 20 gauge. We just have a look at it here. That's the tank, as you see, drops right over the top of the engine, whereas that one sits in the top. There you go, different head angle. If you look in there, it's quite critical at 1.5 degrees offset. That's what everybody copies today. That really helps the steering. Those were Norton modified forks that Ariels didn't like me fitting, but Ariel forks were rubbish. 531 frame, oil in the frame, which does away with the external oil tank. We go on forever. Special top yoke. These yokes are pulled back, which is very important. Lots, if you have those yokes away out there, it handles terribly. So the tighter you can get the stanchions to the headstock, the better the handling. This is fiberglass, which are modified the engine, lightweight flywheels, higher compression, special cam, special rockers, and a lot of development. Inlet track is brought in line with the engine so it doesn't stick out in your way in competition. Legal speedo, so that's where I put it. That's another nice little mod. Glass inspection, so you can see if you've got any fuel in the bike or not. Then this is all modified from the old original stuff. I made all these glass fiber styling up rather than aluminium guards. So this is the biggest mod here. This was in 1958. Miller was the first man in the world to have heated rear tires, so that was 60 years before Formula One, so they should have employed Miller and they would have told him 50 years ago you needed a heated rear tire. Plus, pressure of the exhaust cleared the tire, so you get better grip in sections because it cleared the shit off the tire while you were going through. Rear footrest back from the old standard position wide here. Everything drilled. You can see all the engine plates drilled. This is drilled, that's drilled. Titanium nuts and bolts everywhere. That's the head steadier, which is very important. And these hubs were Ariel leader. What I was against working at Ariel's, the drawing department, and this, they didn't communicate with the comp shop. So these hubs here, the first production leaders, they didn't have this excluder to stop the water going in. So I'd put this on my bike after the first trial when it said that no good, that just took water straight in. I made that up there, riveted that on to seal the brake plate from the, stop the water getting in. So I'd won the Scottish 6-day with it. A few wins here that it did here. If you have a look on the front there, that isn't too bad. If I'd have tried a bit harder, it could have done better, you see. So anyway, that came back from the Scottish 6-day. Mr. Knight, chop designer, came down to the comp shop. He said, we've got a problem with production bikes. The brakes are letting in water. I said, that's okay, Mr. Knight. I said, here's what I did here. And it's been tested in the Scottish 6-day trial. It worked perfectly. But that was the problem. How could he claim the idea and not give it to Miller in the comp shop? So the best planning campaign was to ignore it for 3 months until everybody had forgotten about it, and he came up with a brilliant idea. So not great. But once again, how do you have a chief designer, Mr. Knight, who couldn't ride a motorcycle at Ariel, designing motorcycles? Crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, the air filter's all modified here too. That's all brought in neatly. First plastic control levers here. Plastic, Ducati made those up for me. Aluminium levers, which were the first really. And I welded these mounts on here like Bultaco because they're more substantial than the old bolt-on ones, things that float about. So spent a lot of time on suspension, tested all sorts of multi-rate springs, front and rear with girling. So there we go. As a bloke said to me one day, he said, Sam, the only thing you haven't modified on that bike is the transfer. So there you go. So after that, when Bultaco or Ariels went down the chute, taken over by BSA, they weren't interested in trans bikes anyway. And BSA hated Miller beating the works BSAs on an Ariel. So the powers to be at BSA put the muckers on competition at Ariels. So then we move on. As you know, I joined Bultaco in 1965 with a Bultaco Sherpa. We designed that at Senior Bulto, San Adrian, the Bathos. Changed the world again. A lot of development, a lot of time, but wonderful. But then Senior Bulto said, Sam, do you want to do a bit of road racing during the summer? I said, yeah. So he sent me over a TSS 250. And this 3 Metrallas came over to the importer. The TSS Bultaco, I hadn't ridden for about 10 or 15 years, so I went to the Northwest 200, finished 4th. Went to the Leinster 200 the following week, finished 2nd. The week after that I went to the Cookstown 100 and won it, so not bad. And then this Metralla, lovely bike to ride. It belongs to Dave, who works in the museum. And it's a clubman's bike. So there we are, that's at Thruxton. This gentleman here, that's Frank Sheen, Barry's father. He looked after me because Barry and Frank were very much involved with Bultaco too. And this was in the 500 miler at Thruxton. We finished 2nd to a Royal Enfield, believe it or not. But the reason what that was, we were much quicker, but we were much more thirsty. We would have pit stops all the time, and the old bloody 4-stroke thing was going forever, you know. So we finished 2nd, and then the following week is the production race at Silverstone with the Grand Prix. And Miller was on this, and Minter was on a Cotton, etc. So we were having a ding-dong until he seized up, and Miller won his last international competition race, the 250 class in the production race at the Grand Prix at Silverstone. So happy memory. We had a fairing on it, as you see. It's a Michelin fairing. at Thruxton, the rider had to fill up the machine. That's Frank checking the oil of the gearbox and stuff. So happy memories, happy memories. So then we move on. This is the BSA Triumph, a BSA Bob North 750 triple that Jim's working on. He's not in today. Already the fairing's gone off for repaint, so this is the fairing here. So that's how it raced at Daytona. So that's what we're aiming for, that image there. So lovely bike, a lot of history, a genuine Bob North frame. That's the oil cooler here, because the oil circulated through. That's the radiator for the oil to keep the temperature of the oil down, because it did run a bit hot, and fierce bike. So then we move on. Right, don't tell me you want me to do it again.